tremendous progress in reducing the rate of young people not in employment, education or training. So will the Prime Minister reconfirm his commitment to vocational and skills training and set out how this Labour government is ensuring that young people like Leighton have career opportunities in construction and other critical industries?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend. Leighton's success is a testament to what young people can achieve with the right support. We're creating technical excellent colleges and delivering training places for 60,000 skilled construction workers. And Labour's creating opportunities for every young person whilst building the homes, the schools and the hospitals that our country needs. And that's what I'm fighting for.
Rebecca Smith.
Last year, Plymouth was named the National Centre for Marine Autonomy and given a defence growth deal. However, the SMEs in the unmanned surface vessel sector, many based at Turnchapel Wharf in my constituency, are having their work held back because of out-of-date regulations from the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. Last week, I was told that draft regulations exist, but that they require primary legislation. Now, without these new regulations, many of these vital SMEs developing autonomous vessels that have dual commercial and defence use are at risk. So, Mr Speaker, will the Prime Minister show some backbone and consider finding a slot for primary legislation as a matter of urgency, or at least consider adding it to the King's speech later this spring, assuming that he is still in charge of the legislative programme by then?
Mr Speaker, we are taking action, but in the particular case she raises in her constituency, if she sends me or my team the details, I'll see if there's anything we can do to support what is obviously an important issue.
Steve Race.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Prime Minister will be aware of Lorraine Cox, a resident of Exeter, who in 2020 was murdered by a man whose asylum claim had been denied but who is not removed from this country. Would the Prime Minister set out what more this government will do to make sure deportations of people who have no right to be here and of those who have committed criminal offences will be sped up? And would he meet with Lorraine's father to discuss the family's campaign for justice for Lorraine?
Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend raises an awful case, and my thoughts and those, I'm sure, of the whole House are with the loved ones of Lorraine. Tackling violence against women and girls is a critical mission, and I'll make sure the Home Office Minister meets the family. I want to be absolutely clear, Mr Speaker, illegal immigrants who commit such appalling acts should not be in this country. That's why we've already removed nearly 60,000 people with no right to be here, and deportations of foreign criminals is up by a third. We're also reforming human rights law to allow us to swiftly remove those with no right to be here.
Lord Glover.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My Oxfordshire constituents are sick of widespread potholes, particularly at Milton Interchange, Didcot and along the A417 serving Challow and Stamford in the Vale. Yet the government is cutting funding for Oxfordshire County Council by £24 million over 3 years, which is equivalent to its annual highways maintenance budget. The Prime Minister is of course entitled to dig a pothole for himself, but why is he cutting funding for Oxfordshire's roads?
Prime Minister.
We put a record amount of money into dealing with potholes. He needs to ask his council, run by his party, why they're not using that money.
Douglas McAllister.
It's a source of great pride to Scottish Labour MPs that as Chancellor, Gordon Brown lifted more children out of poverty than any other Chancellor before him. It's also a source of great pride that this...
Order. Mr Flynn, you don't need to go behind. I can still hear you. Your voice is louder than mine. Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's also a source of great pride that this torch is now passed over to our government, and by removing the two-child benefit cap, we will lift more children out of poverty in a single parliament than ever before. 2,260 children in Western Bartonshire, 95,000 in Scotland. Does the Prime Minister agree that this demonstrates true Labour values in action across Scotland and the UK?
Well, on this side of the House, Mr Speaker, we know the damage that growing up in poverty does to the life chances of children. The Tories put hundreds of thousands of children into poverty, and they'll live with that for the rest of their lives. We are undoing their damage. Our decision will benefit almost 100,000 children in Scotland as we deliver the largest reduction in child poverty in any single parliament.
Neera Wilson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The manslaughter of baby Gigi Meehan at a nursery in Cheadle. 21 counts of child cruelty at Riverside Nursery in Twickenham Green in my constituency. 56 charges of sexual assault and creating indecent images at a nursery in Camden. And just this week, 21 counts of sexual abuse at a nursery in Bristol. Mr. Speaker, CCTV was critical for convicting the criminals in most of these cases. So will the Prime Minister ensure that no parent ever has to fear for their child's safety while they go to work by introducing mandatory CCTV in nurseries and a childcare workers register?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising these cases? And they're harrowing cases for everyone in this country. The safety of children is, of course, paramount, and we're acting to keep them safe. We're implementing all the proposals consulted on to strengthen safeguarding as part of our early years foundation stage framework. Expert group developing guidance on the effective use of CCTV, the point she makes, and considering whether it should be mandatory in early settings. And I'll make sure that she's updated as we take that work forward.
Catherine West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. 126 years ago, this House legislated to make Alexandra Palace available for the free use of the public forever. And last year, Luke the Nuke changed darts forever by rewriting the record books. Today, Ali Pali plays host to World Championship Darts, Master Snooker, Haringey Huskies, Greyhounds for ice hockey, plus music, comedy, drama and more. Will the PM today keep the Palace competitive as the international venue for darts by supporting my campaign to raise a one-off public-private £500 million investment for urgent capital improvements?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? The People's Palace is an iconic British venue, a home for darts, snooker and world-class music. It's vital that we support brilliant venues that give so much to our cultural life. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we're providing almost £200 million to preserve heritage buildings across the country, so venues like Alexandra Palace can have a bright future.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, Stark Bay was devastated by storm damage, homes and businesses wrecked, and an important A road severed. Thousands who used it to commute to school, work and healthcare are stranded, bus routes broken, emergency vehicles blocked. And the 300,000 visitors who come annually and underpin our fragile tourist economy now in doubt. But this is a place that has stepped up twice to defend our country. Once, when 1.5 million cubic metres of shingle were dredged out of the bay to build the naval dockyards in Plymouth, and again, when it was used as the training ground for the D-Day landings at a cost of 750 American soldiers' lives. It is also the site of a unique national nature reserve with rare species found only here. This storm damage is of national significance, so I ask the Prime Minister if he will ensure that the myriad of government agencies and departments needed will work together with experts to find and fund a sustainable long-term solution to the coastal erosion that is inflicting so much...
Order! It's a very important question, but I'm sure the Prime Minister must have got it in the first 2 minutes. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, I know communities have been badly affected by recent storms, and damage to the A379 is very concerning. I'm pleased that she, I think, is meeting the Roads and Floods Minister today, I think. We are investing £10 billion to improve coastal and flood defences, and I want to thank the Environment Agency staff who are working hard right now, putting extra protections in place and supporting people ahead of further wet weather.
Pete Corgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For too long, communities like mine in Bartley Green felt decisions were made about them, not with them. 14 years of austerity did not just close neighbourhood offices and youth services, it broke trust. Through Pride in Place in Woodgate, this government is helping residents restore the Woodgate Valley Cafe and so much more. What is the Prime Minister's message to my constituents about how politics can be a force for good and that he will never walk away from my community and the country we love?
Well, I thank her for a question. My message is that I've always believed that those with skin in the game make the best decisions about their community. And I know just how much her constituents want Woodgate Valley Visitor Centre back open. Together, I do think we can make that happen. And if you want to know, Mr. Speaker, where hope is in Britain, is in our communities. And that's why we're investing so heavily in our Pride in Place initiative.
James Wilde. Thank you very much.
My constituent's mum, sister and stepfather were killed in a horrific, dangerous driving crime, and the foreign national offender was sentenced to 10.5 years. But the family have just been told that he may be released imminently in order to be deported, having served just 3 years. Will the Prime Minister look at this case, and what steps can be taken to prevent that release, given such a pitiful service time? 3 years for 3 lives would be the final insult and undermine public confidence in our justice system.
Prime Minister. Can I thank him for raising what is obviously a terrible case, and I'll make sure that it's looked into if he could provide further details so we can do it as quickly as possible.
David Pinto-Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our democracy in this House relies on the spoken word, but many with speech disabilities are left without a voice. I have a speech impediment. So do 2 million adults and 1 in 12 children. It can rob people of their confidence, lead to discrimination and limit our opportunities in work and in public life. It's time to tear down these barriers. Can the Prime Minister share with what this government is doing to help people with speech disabilities get the support they need so their voices can be heard?
Prime Minister.
Can I start by saying he is an inspirational and powerful campaigner on this issue, and by doing what he's doing, he will give great courage to other people to take the same steps. I'm proud we're increasing the number of NHS speech and language therapists. We're trialling new ways of identifying and supporting children with speech and language needs in their early years, because I agree that every child deserves the help they need to reach their potential.
Dr. L. Pinkerton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My Surrey Heath constituent, Christopher, was discharged from the RAF in 1966 solely for being gay. But despite the government committing to restoring the medals, the berets, and indeed acknowledging the injustice of those discharged from our armed forces prior to 1967, his case has been dismissed out of hand with only a letter that contained the track changes from the template that the MOD issued. So can I ask the Prime Minister to take a personal interest in this case to ensure that it's resolved swiftly, and to allow Christopher to march on Remembrance Day as he wishes to, with his medals and his beret and his dignity restored?
Prime Minister.
I will do everything I can to ensure that that happens, which is absolutely what should happen. This was an absolute scandal, the gays in the military ban, and it's absolutely right that it was overturned, but we must follow through on that, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that we deliver on what he's asked me to deliver on.
Daniel Zagner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the government launched a consultation on establishing a growth development corporation for Cambridge. And in the meantime, Peter Freeman, the chairman of the Cambridge Growth Company, has on the record as saying we should aim to be the most livable city in Europe. That's a fantastic ambition, one which I entirely agree with. And I'd ask the Prime Minister, given that this will be good for growth, not just for Cambridge, but for the region and the wider economy, what more can the government do to help us, not least to help that generation of young people who can barely afford a home?
Prime Minister.
Well, his constituency is already home to brilliant research, innovation and economic growth. And through a greater Cambridge Development Corporation, we'll put in the powers and resources to unlock its full potential. I want to let local people have their say. We'll make sure that we create a fair plan with attractive, well-connected and thriving new neighbourhoods.
Tom Tugendar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Prime Minister share with me the concern that while some ambassadors retiring in disgrace get tens of thousands of pounds in payoff, many other civil servants are failing to get the retirement that they are due and are expected to turn to their old departments for bridging loans? This is clearly a scandal. Would he put all of his effort behind making sure that those who have served with integrity are treated with the dignity that they deserve?
Prime Minister.
Yes, we are taking steps, and he's right, we should take further steps, and I think that will be agreed across the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The announcement that pubs and music venues would receive a much welcomed reduction in business rates is a positive step. However, in our manifesto, we did promise root and branch reform of business rates. Hospitality and leisure businesses in my Stourbridge constituency are facing a projected £20,000 increase in business rates over the next 3 years, along with employment cost increases and energy costs. Hospitality and leisure play a vital role for our communities, providing jobs and spaces to socialise. So will the Prime Minister consider a similar rates relief package for hospitality and leisure?
She's right that we need the conditions for flourishing high streets, and underscores the importance of 6 interest rate cuts, the £5.8 billion that we put into Pride in place, and the work to put money in people's pockets. I'm pleased we've delivered a 15% cut and a 2-year freeze for pubs and live music venues. That comes on top of the £4.3 billion to support businesses and permanently lower rates for retail, hospitality and leisure properties.
Blackman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the Prime Minister for raising the stabbing at Kingsbury High School yesterday. It is absolutely right that we allow the police to get on with their job of investigating this terrible atrocity, and indeed the police are out there now providing reassurance to parents and people in the community. And indeed, I'm sure I speak for the whole House when our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and also those that witness this atrocity. But will the Prime Minister now look at what needs to be done to combat knife crime across the country? It is absolutely wrong that people are carrying knives in the first place when they don't need to, and indeed they're drawn into this terrible atrocity. We owe it to the victims to ensure this happens.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising this case? And it's one of the most powerful and important things that we do as MPs in this place, particularly when there's such awful cases. And he's absolutely right. We must do everything we can to reduce knife crime. There are initiatives and steps we've taken to remove the accessibility of knives where they can be bought. We need to do much more work with our schools and young people to ensure that people don't carry knives. And we need to work with the police and law enforcement to make sure that these incidents are investigated as quickly and as effectively as possible. And I think that's a shared endeavour across the House.
Sarah Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency, the beautiful Grade 2 listed Chetwynd Bridge on the A513 between Eddingale and Alwas has been restricted to cars and light vans since October of 2023. So farmers are facing a 25-mile diversion, and with severe flooding now hitting Eddingale multiple times a year, this vital route risks being cut off for emergency response times as well. Bridges like this, with a clear economic impact on communities, should be the focus of the government's new Structures Fund, which I welcome. So can I ask the Prime Minister to encourage his ministers to meet with me so that we can find a solution to this issue for my rural constituents in town?
Well, can I thank her for raising this issue, and just hearing her makes it absolutely clear that we need to find a solution to this, so I'll make sure that she gets the meeting that she is requesting with the relevant minister so we can move as quickly as possible.
Ayab Khan, final question.
Mr. Speaker, rubbish is building up right beneath my very nose. It's becoming...
Easy, Tiger.
It's becoming a serious problem in Birmingham. In Birmingham, bin strikes are now running over close to 2 years. So can I ask gently the Prime Minister to intervene and perhaps speak to the leader of Birmingham City Council to see if he can re-enter negotiations with Unite the Union?
Yeah, he's right to raise this, and we're doing everything we can to resolve the situation, which absolutely needs resolving.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Point of order, Rachel Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, yesterday a Reform UK MP visited a synagogue in my constituency and failed to notify me of this visit. It was a political visit. It is part of a pattern that has been observed at a time when we need to work together in our communities to tackle anti-Semitism, this terrible form of hate. I would like your guidance, please, on the correct procedure for members in terms of whether they should show their
Mr. Tice, please. It's very important to hear this point of order. No, I need to hear it. Please, just...
I would like your guidance, please, on the correct procedure for members in terms of when they should or should not show the courtesy of letting sitting Member of Parliament know of their intention to visit.
OK. Look, I'm very clear on this. When members of Parliament go into another member's constituency, they should let the member know in advance of that visit. And I'm going to say it's not just one party, it's all parties that continue to do it. All I say is these are the courtesies and the rules that we expect. So please, just remember the rules. Let the member know when you're going in. Point's been raised. I'll leave it at that. Right, we now come to a 10-minute rule bill. Rachel Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to require certain persons or organisations to share specified data relating to the short-term letting of accommodation with regulatory authorities, to amend the Data Protection Act 2018 in connection with that requirement and for connected purposes. Mr. Speaker, I am honoured to represent the cities of London and Westminster in the heart of London, a truly unique constituency in a number of ways. How many can say that they have the Tate Britain, Ronnie Scott's and Abbey Road studios on their patch? How many can boast 78,000 businesses and 2 million jobs? And how many can point to having been the home for a unique wealth of historical figures like Mary Seacole, Millicent Fawcett and Aluda Equiano? But this centrality does come at the cost of one of the most competitive housing markets in the world, where long-term residents are forced to compete against commercial real estate, luxury developers and foreign oligarchs. Chief among the forces hollowing out our communities is the unchecked proliferation of short-term letting hosts on Airbnb, Booking.com and other sites. These individuals turn our homes into hotels, our communities into commodities and our neighbours into nighttime nuisances. My inbox is full of such stories. Fire services being called because of guests leaving cookers on. Families with children being kept up with drug-fuelled James Bond-themed parties taking place right next door night after night. And even organised crime outfits renting out apartments for a weekend to harass Londoners, snatching phones and wallets before leaving with their ill-gotten gains. Amidst this bad behaviour is the flagrant breach of the London-wide regulation that short-lets operate for no more than 90 nights per year without planning permission. This is operationally impossible to enforce because of how difficult it is to get accurate information on how many nights a short-term let is being used. Mr. Speaker, in some parts of my constituency, as many as 30% of homes are being used as short-term lets, and in the process, making the homes that are left less affordable for long-term residents. Research from King's College London shows that doubling the density of short-term lets is associated with an 8% growth in per-bedroom rental prices, or more than £4,500 per year. This overheated housing market has become unaffordable for locals and hollowed out communities like those in the West End, which was historically the beating heart, cultural heart of London, home to William Blake, Shelley and Constable. The average one-bed flat in Soho costs £2,400 a month to rent privately, over double what they would have been at the turn of the millennium. And at the same time, average prices have tripled from £300,000 to nearly £1 million. When non-residential forces crowd into a residential market, it's working people who are the losers. It is no coincidence that Soho's population has been shrunk by 2/3 over the same time period, and that the knock-on effects of these changes are felt. Since my election, I have had to fight for institutions used by local residents, including schools and community facilities such as the Jubilee Hall Gym and the Central YMCA, to stay open, and frequently their landlords have complained about a lack of footfall. Mr. Speaker, London isn't just special because of its landmarks or its economy. It's special because of its people, its historic communities living and working together and generating some of the greatest cultural and social achievements produced by this country. And if we want to keep London as a world-leading city, we need to ensure that its people can afford to make a home here and that they feel safe and at ease living here. We have to fight for this city, and that is exactly what I intend to do. I would like to take a moment to pay tribute to the City of Westminster's pioneering short-term lets team who work day in and day out to enforce existing rules around illegal subletting and the 90-day rule and antisocial behaviour in problem properties. Since coming into power in 2022, Labour has doubled their size, and I've been working with them, launching a short-term lets commission, directly reporting properties flagged by my constituents to council officers and ensuring they are taken off these sites for good. And the government is on the side of my constituents too, in pushing forward with a mandatory short-term lets registration scheme. This will be the first time to give us clear, uncontested data on where the short-term lets are and who is operating them. Hosts will have to enter their property's address and receive a unique reference number, which will then appear on all sites where it is let. And they will have to confirm that they are following existing regulations which apply to short-term lets, such as fire, gas and electrical certificates. This will be transformative for how we enforce short-term lets in London. With a unique reference number, teams like those in Westminster will be able to much more easily pinpoint problem properties and take them off major sites for good. But there is a piece of information which this scheme must collect, which right now we cannot. The number of nights for which homes are being let out. Without this crucial data, enforcing the 90-day limit will remain an elusive task to local authority planning enforcement teams. Data from AirDNA indicates that nearly 6,000 short lets in the cities of London and Westminster are being let out at over the 90-day limit. These are almost certainly the worst offenders when it comes to the other community disruptions which I have already mentioned. If we simply made these actors follow the law, or better still, took them off the market entirely, we would significantly reduce the disruption caused by short-term letting. So why can't we take this data? It's because of the Data Protection Act, which currently prevents this information from being shared. While crucial for ensuring that our personal data is more secure than in comparable countries outside of the EU, in this case, the Data Protection Act is standing in the way of effectively regulating short-term lets. A number of exemptions do, however, exist in the legislation, and my motion today would extend this exemption to include the number of nights short-term lets are used. This, however, cannot be the only action which is needed on tackling short-term lets. Time and time again, my constituents do bring up licensing as a possible solution to the spread of short-term lets, backed by reams of research from policy experts. Just as if a business were applying to open a bar or a cafe in a local area, so too should a short-let host have to apply to their local authority before opening what is, in essence, a micro-hotel in the middle of a residential block. While every local authority should be able to undertake their own approach to this, local authorities like Westminster and the City of London, where concentrations are so high, need to have the power to decide where homes can be let out and under what conditions. The government's upcoming database is a crucial step in this direction, as it can, for the first time ever, provide an authoritative data set on the extent of this problem, and this will benefit members of Parliament and their constituents across the country. My constituents are ready to engage with this database and report poor practice. The local authorities I work with are on hand to upscale their work, which the benefits of it can bring. All we need now is this final piece of the puzzle, knowing how many nights homes are let out for. This piece is well within our grasp, and it is up to us in this House to deliver it.
That the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. The question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare to bring in the bill?
Rachel Blake, Lizzie Collins, Florence Eshalomi, Dame Meg Hillier, Alison Hume, Jane Kirkham, Joe Powell, Anna Geldard, Will Stone, Noah Law, Tony Vaughan, Dr. Scott Arthur.
Rachel Blake.
Short-term let accommodation data sharing requirements bill.
Second reading what day?
27th of February.
27th of February. A point of order, Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd be grateful for your advice as to how I register my utter